Hello, you are welcome back again to Love Your Health YouTube channel. This is your Preventive Nurse on your screen once again. Yeah, you are welcome back. Today's video is on G6Pd deficiency. G6Pd deficiency. For us to understand this topic very well, we have to know what G6Pd itself is. Then we get to the deficiency. So when I say G6Pd is one of the commonest human enzyme deficiency globally, and it's enzyme disease. Is a genetic disorder. So in a nutshell, it's a genetic disorder and cannot be prevented, because if your parents are carrying the genes, they can transfer it to you. So G6Pd, in a nutshell, G6Pd is a housekeeping enzyme that is very important in making sure that the red blood cells matured and also help the red blood cells to survive the oxidative stress in the system. We know that there are a lot of stress in the system, there are a lot of chemical reactions, biochemical reactions in the system that will break down the red blood cells. But this G6Pd enzymes is responsible to make sure that this red blood cells survive the stress or the oxidative stress in the system, so that your body will be stable and you'll be free from diseases. So in a nutshell, G6Pd is very, very important enzymes in the body, and they help your red blood cells to live healthy and to be able to perform its function very, very well. You also have to know that these red blood cells are responsible to carry oxygen to other parts of the body and also to the tissues for your system to be stable. So if this enzyme is deficient in the system, meaning that the oxygen to the other part of the body will also be deficient or not be also be inadequate. I hope you are clear. So I will say that about 4 million people are living with this G6Pd deficiency globally. So let's look at the functions of these enzymes G6Pd. So the function of G6Pd is to protect your red blood cells not to die prematurely, but also to perform its function very well for your body to be stable, so that other organs will work very well. And it's also another one is that it also helps the body to be able to respond to oxidative stress, because if it's in place, this red blood cells does not die prematurely. And it also prevents hemolytic anemia. When I say hemolytic anemia comes as when the red blood cells died frequently and the body cannot replace them as they die. Then you have an anemia we call hemolytic anemia. So in a nutshell, this G6Pd enzymes is a very, very important enzyme in the system that helps your red blood cells to mature to the expected lifespan and to be able to perform its function very well for all your system and your organ to be healthy and healthy. So somebody will say, what causes G6Pd deficiency? So when we say, now that we know the functions of the enzymes G6Pd and what it means, let's look at what G6Pd deficiency is. So when we say somebody is having a G6Pd deficiency, that means a person that does not have these G6Pd enzymes in the body at all, or have it but not in the required level in the system, then we say the person is G6Pd deficiency. So our doctors, when they do this diagnosis, they say G6Pd deficiency, then they come full effect and partial defect, full defect and partial defect. When we say somebody is partially defect of G6Pd, or the person is G6Pd deficiency but partially, meaning that the person have this G6Pd enzymes in the body, all right, but not the required level or not the required amount in the system. So meaning that if somebody is also fully defect of G6Pd enzymes, that means the person is not having these enzymes in the body at all, meaning that the person is totally deficient of the G6Pd enzymes. Research also shows that G6Pd deficiency is common in male than in female. Why? Because this G6Pd enzymes is carried on the X chromosomes, When we talk about chromosomes, male, we have our own chromosomes, and female also have their own chromosomes. Male, they have chromosome XY, and the female have chromosome XX. And all these chromosomes, the SS, one is recessive and one is dominant. And this enzymes, G6Pd, the G6Pd enzymes, is carried on the recessive S chromosomes. So if a woman gives out S chromosomes and give out the recessive one, and the male also give out the Y, then that the child becomes a male child or a man. So if that happens, then we say that that male child is carrying the G6Pd defect or deficiency, because the mother has given out the recessive S chromosomes and the father has given out the Y, so the baby came out as a male child, and that child is deficient of G6Pd. That comes, men are having G6Pd deficiency more than female. So somebody will say, how do we prevent G6Pd? Already I said G6Pd is a genetic disorder. It's a genetic disorder, and it's a genetic condition which is hereditary, which can be transferred from parent to their offspring or to their newborns. Therefore, we cannot prevent G6Pd, but we can prevent its effects. So let's look at how G6Pd effects can be prevented. G6Pd effects can be prevented by avoiding the triggers. We have some things that we call triggers. When you are G6Pd deficiency, you have G6Pd deficiency or G6Pd defect, there are certain chemicals that doesn't go into your system, and there are some foods that doesn't also go into the system. Anytime these things go into your system, it breaks down your red blood cells prematurely, and you start to get something we call hemolytic anemia. I've explained hemolytic anemia earlier on that. When your red blood cells breaks down prematurely and the body is unable to replace them, then we have an anemia that we call hemolytic anemia. So let's look at the triggers. Some of the triggers are from food, and some are from drugs or medications. So people who are living with G6Pd or who have a G6Pd deficiency, they don't go with sulfur medication. Any drug that contains sulfur, it's not good for the system. It breaks down the red blood cells the more, so they'll be showing signs and symptoms of anemia. So let's look at the triggers. Yes, number one, sulfur drugs. So one of the common sulfur drugs is the sulfadosine pyrimethamine. Sulfadosine pyrimethamine is a medication that we normally give to pregnant women to prevent them from malaria. So most of the anti-malarials contains sulfur. So you see that when people are pregnant and they come to the hospital, we run this test, the G6Pd test. When they are deficient, we don't give them the SP at all. So we deploy other means for them to stay away from mosquito bites so that they don't get malaria during pregnancy, because the sulfadosine pyrimethamine, or what you normally call SP, is given to them to prevent them from getting malaria during pregnancy. And also medication like Septrin, Lasix, they are not good for people who are living with G6Pd deficiency. So the other ones are people who eat foods like fever beans. Research shows that people who have G6Pd react so much to fever beans, and it breaks down their red blood cells. So they'll be having, when it enters into the system, they'll be having signs and symptoms of yellow coloration of the eye. You see that the skin will be yellow, the lips will be yellow, the face will be yellow, and they'll be weak. They'll be they'll be struggling for air to breathe, because I told you that these G6Pd enzymes help the red blood cells to survive, and the red blood cells also send oxygen to other organs. So if you are deficient or the triggers get into the system, you struggle for air. That comes, they normally struggle to breathe, and also they feel weak. And another thing is that they are always fatigued. Those are the signs and symptoms. They are always fatigued. So please, and children who are born with G6PD, they normally come with jaundice, neonatal jaundice. And please, if your child, you give birth to a child and the child is having this yellow coloration, please seek a medical attention as early as possible. Then also research shows that other legume foods, some people also react to other ones apart from the fever beans. So if you are G6PD deficient, you should watch out when you are taking any of the legumes. If you react to them, you take it and you feel you react to them, you stop as early as possible. That some few articles also suggest that others react to blueberries and some to red wine. So please take notes. Anytime you take anything that contains sulfur or anything that contains a leguminous food, and you have a reaction, please you seek a medical attention as early as possible. People also use camphor in their drinking water. People use it a lot. Please, those who are deficient of G6PD, they don't get closer to sulfur. It's not good for them. It will break down their red blood cells. And mind you, some of the medication contains sulfur, and they are not systemic drugs. They are not drugs that you should take inside the body, swallow or drink. They are applied externally. Please should take care of those ones too. The moment it contains sulfur, the child can still, or the person can still react to it and break down the red blood cells, which is not good for your whole system. But please don't forget to share my videos, subscribe to them, like them, and send your comments. Don't be selfish. Please share to save somebody's life.